But let's go to a man who's right there as well. You know, people were posting all these memes about the one sporting goods store that was looted.
Oh,
and the only thing that was left was the Kirk Cousins jerseys.
The jerseys, yeah. They were intact, but they were perfectly on the rack.
Actually, the Eagles rack was in good shape, too. Now, I think they burned the Eagles jersey rack. Paul Allen is the voice of your Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to get in, which used to be ground zero until it switched right here to Philadelphia. Paul, how are you, pal?
Why you got to take a shot at our quarterback? I mean, just out of nowhere, we got the pandemic purge. We got the rioting here and all over the country, and you come in firing at number 8. What the hell?
No, that wasn't me. That was people. Listen, I jokingly tweeted over the weekend, the one guy who has to really feel like, one guy happy that nobody's paying attention to him is the quarterback up there, right? Again, I'm not making light of the situation, but, you know, people try to put memes and stuff. I'm not trying to. Listen.
No, man, you know, come on, Tony. We're old school, best school, back to Russian Hill in San Francisco.
Exactly
you know,
right.
You know that I'm playing with you, man. That's what we do. Like,
yeah, you know, some people are so sensitive, though, Paul.
I have it for you, Paul. By the way, hold on, because
what?
I did pull it up for you, but it was.
You breached.
No, I do. Hold on, just 1 second. See?
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. We're going to bring up
I promised to have it for you, but I had the other video going on at the same time. But just so you know, I had it ready.
He's the only guest who requests walk-up music on the show. The great Paul Allen.
Well, I mean, there is bartering and you know, contractual negotiation.
Yes.
And Tony, when I say old school, best school, San Francisco, KNBR,
yep.
You and I, both East Coast guys. I mean, I'm a radio guy, man. I mean, I went to high school and junior college in the LA area, so I go to bed every night listening to Chick Hearn and Ben Scully. You know, then I'm up in Northern California and all over the country, and I'm finding Beautiful Man with Benny Mardones. And it's like, that's old school, best school. So with what you described or played back with that video, and then the one I saw at the end of my radio show today of the elderly lady trying to protect her business in Rochester, and Rochester, New York, and I believe New York, and, you know, those heathens and those thugs and the scoundrels hitting her, and it's ridiculous. It's awful. So, you know, I certainly can't speak for the Fighting City of Philadelphia, man, but Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday were really, really bad here. And then Saturday it calmed. Last night it calmed. Might have a curfew again this evening, not sure. But there are just so many tentacles that come off of it. You know, when you mentioned offending people or saying the wrong thing, it's like, you know, unless you lay out X amount of precursors before, or paraphrase, or set something up properly before you formulate an opinion, then people come at you. So what I did today on my radio show is I read a 16-second disclaimer, set it up like you'd hear it at the end of some mortgage ad or something, and it's the A-section disclaimer, then you just get right into it.
Exactly, and we shouldn't do that. Everybody should be able to speak their mind. Harry was just telling me that he sat down this morning before he decided to come in here and drive through the city worrying about, you know, what's going on. And again, we're not war heroes. We're not dodging sniper fire, you know, like Hillary Clinton in Bosnia. We're here just doing a job, you know. Everybody's trying to get to work, those who have to work. And, Harry, you said you were pretty upset this morning.
I've been upset all weekend.
Well,
and it really, you know, hit me last night and this morning, and I had to write some things down to sort of work through it just so I could come into work today. You know?
Well, I mean, you know, to what you just said, you know, off the you know, where your heart is, and people want to guess where your heart is and stuff like that. I mean, there are obvious things out there you don't have to mention or tweet every single time. The death of George Floyd was awful. It was ridiculous, and we watched a man expire on national television. The knee to the neck not only breaks protocol for the way they do things here, it was heinous, it was murder, and the cop is going to go to jail. So you don't have to frame everything up with you know, before I show remorse and or sadness for these businesses owned by black people that have been ravaged, you know, let me talk about how sad I am for George Floyd and how bad the cop is. I mean, those should be obvious and assumed into the conversation. Now, you know, off what Harry said about driving around today, you know, yesterday morning at about 11:45, I went into Minneapolis right by Lake Street, and I brought some bags of food and essentials and stuff. And I dropped it off at Sanford Middle School, and I had a mask on, I had glasses, I had a Viking stocking cap. You know, I didn't want to walk around, and I'm not being arrogant here, but have it be like, PA, PA. I just wanted to kind of feel it and see what it was like. And it was so loving and so touching and so much on the other side of vandalism and arson and pillaging and everything. So Harry, when stuff like that emerges, specifically in the city of brotherly love, emphasis brotherly love, I would suggest getting down there, taking it in, and it will open your eyes to some things.
We're talking with the great Paul Allen, voice of the Vikings. And, and certainly sports is going on. Football is about to get going soon. The coaches will be allowed to go in the facilities. We'll see. I don't know if this is going to affect hopefully this stops in a few days. And hopefully, by the way, there are 4 officers who were there, and you know this better than anybody. The one officer was white, the guy who they already arrested and charged.
Right.
The other 3 officers were Hispanic, Asian, and Latino. Hispanic, Black, and Latino.
I thought it was Somali.
No,
I
there are 4 different races. All 4 of those cops involved in the Floyd incident were from 4 different races. So this isn't about a white guy just trying to kill a black man. This is a mentality, unfortunately, that permeates in a lot of police departments because they've lowered the standards to become a cop so much because people are afraid to become cops now. They put their lives on the line and nobody appreciates it. And when I say nobody, so many people don't appreciate it and think of them as the enemy.
Right, and the standards have been so lowered that when there is an issue, they are keeping them on the force rather than getting rid of them, which this guy should have been gotten rid of 18 times ago.
Yeah, he had 18 previous complaints, right, Paul?
Yeah, you guys are so good at what you do because it's Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, black man, used to be chief operating officer for the Minnesota Vikings. He's on my radio show every other Monday, including today. And this is a powerful black man who speaks eloquently, comes from the heart, and deals with rich white and black people every single day, those of privilege. And he was talking extensively about exactly what you just talked about from a police department standpoint. But see, here's one thing that I'm low-key going to follow because I'm not gonna guess where Harry, Ms. Robin, or Tony's hearts are. I'm going to let your equity stand on its own merit. Likewise for me when people are looking at me. But you know what? Over the last 3 or 4 days, man, whether it's social media or in this cul-de-sac where I'm doing this interview or whatever, there have been people who have gotten awfully loud about a lot of things. And they generally come back to equality and how things are not fair. All right? Now, a week from now, are you going to be that loud? What about in a month or a year or 10 years? You still going to be that loud? Because if you are that person, be that person. And if you crave and covet change and racial equality, which you should, be that person. And if more people were that person and not just looking at the retweets and the likes and the bullcrap like that, then maybe we would get something done.
Agreed. And we are all here just to try to have fun, do sports talk with no sports. But you know what? We can't ignore this. It's affecting us. We're sitting right in the middle of it. It's cool if you're sitting up in a suburban mansion and you're sitting back and drinking a cocktail and watching TV and you don't care because it doesn't affect you. It affects everybody. When you're in the inner city like we are, it affects your life. I don't feel any different than anybody else. We have a diverse community here. So all these other assholes on the internet coming at me, kiss my ass. You sit in your ivory tower. Sit in your ivory towers, you jerk-offs, and tell me what you're experiencing, punks.
Even if we were sitting in some ivory tower, though, the people that are listening to this show, they're real people, and it still is affecting them, and they're confused, they are angry, they are saddened, they're up in turmoil, so it is something that we should talk about no matter who you are.
Well, no, there ain't no doubt about it. And forget the stick to sports bull crap, that Tony or other people have seen. Big deal. That's convenient, it's easy, and it's lazy. Get out of my life. But you know what? It is confusing. And you're right, it's confusing. You know why? Because to shoot straight on this thing, I'm from all-black Washington, D.C. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood for many, many years. I'm not going to pretend as a white man, 54 years of age with cool jobs, that I can completely and understand the plight of a black man. I can't, even though I've lived in it and been around it for many, many years, and I've seen more than most white people have seen involving race relations, and I'll leave it at that. But when it comes to making change, and when it comes to those wagging their fingers and everything, it just there are so many tentacles to this that are confusing. Like Robin said, where I have black friends of mine who either play or played in the NFL, and they have a lot of money, and they have some popularity, and they're black. And when I have black people say to me, peaceful protest for the most part over the last X amount of years, it's gotten things on TV, gotten in the newspaper, a little bit of commentary on social media, but then it's gone. Boom. The peaceful protesting clearly is not working. So, when you start taking it to the next step and opening eyes, that has a better potential to lead to change. Now, on the other side of that, to Ms. Robbins' confusing point, is the what's happening to these buildings and the fires and the looting and just everything over the top. Those are hardened criminals, okay? Yep. And those are opportunists who see an opportunity to get in here with something that is transpiring for a good cause and just go ahead and bleep it up and rob, because they're hardened criminals. And it's a hit and run for them where it's a light for other people.
No, you're exactly right. We're all on the same page here. Nobody's condoning what happened to Mr. Floyd, but the Mr. Floyd protests are being hijacked because people know that when the police are all in one place, there are going to be other places because nobody's going to be there to stop them from looting and pillaging. That's the saddest part. And and again, I don't really want to.
I don't know, Tony. I don't know if I've seen your tweets right, man. Because A, I got all your albums, but B, I read all your tweets and everything. And maybe it was you, maybe it wasn't, but like right out of the gate, man. Okay, Wednesday evening when it all started here, off Lake Street in a part of Minneapolis, there was a condominium that was about ready to open, 190 units, and that was one of the first things to catch fire and go down. There are people, a couple of retired ex-cops and a security person who let's just say runs a security situation that's very important within the city. All three of them said to me when I talked to them that night, that's not thugs with Molotov cocktails, okay? That's professional.
Yeah.
And the way that thing was executed, the way that fire went off, and the way that thing came down, that was professional.
Wow.
So now I've had that on my mind since Wednesday. And then now all the Antifa and everything stuff is popping up all over the country. And it makes it, like Robin said, so confusing because you have the good who are trying to open eyes and lead to change. And then you've got the criminals who are making the good look bad.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You're absolutely right. We all know this. And people who think that we have agendas to protect thugs or criminals, whatever you want to call them, they're all thugs. Doesn't matter what race you are. They're criminals and they should be dealt with. But the Hollywood mindset is, let's bail these people out for peaceful protest. Most peaceful protesters aren't being arrested because they're peacefully protesting.
Well, I like the one reporter was doing a live shot in front of a building burning down saying that the protests are peaceful. Did you turn around?
That's from the scene. Nothing to see here.
Right.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here.
And now you got this peaceful protest on a couple of bridges in the Twin Cities yesterday, 6:45 Tony Bruno time, 5:45 here, and here comes tanker truck guy flying 70 across the bridge. So now all of a sudden that's new. So now immediately social media, he had to have driven it in there, A, to kill people, or B, so the tanker could blow up and thousands could die. I mean, that's just where people immediately are leaping. I don't know if he was there on a professional agenda looking to wreak havoc, or if a mistake was made. But, I mean, it's just everybody is, boom, lickety-split, right to what answer they want.
The great Paul Allen, voice of your Minnesota Vikings. All right, let's get to sports now because, as you mentioned, we don't know.
Come on.
I mean, baseball. I mean, are you ready for baseball through the October 31st?
Are you kidding me?
Were you ready for baseball outside in Minnesota in November?
Tony, I'm jonesing for live sports so badly that if Jai Alai were to be in play, I'd go to Vegas to bet on it. I mean, But see, that's another by faith, by forecasting faith. Okay, NBA comes out late July 31st, Orlando, here we go. Okay, will you? Probably. Hockey, this 2014 thing. I saw a couple of members of the Wild are dear friends of mine, and they're like, whoa. I mean, still a lot of hurdles to cross. NFL, Goodell mostly has made every timeline except for the schedule. But the NFLPA has not been heard from. So obviously, the NFL and the NFLPA are working and arduously to get something together, but the NFLPA, we have not heard from it. So truly, when are we going to get back? See, the probability of 4 preseason games, okay, come on. I mean, if they're going to get back on the field somewhere in July, late July, well, it's got to go conditioning and strength, and then organized team activities so the new guys can learn the plays, and then training camp so you can bang on each other and get ready for a season. So it's just all so confusing. And you know what, man? I'm at peace. I wait for it. And I can't wait for it to come back.
All right, what's going on? Do we have a developing situation, Paul Allen?
What?
Oh, you faded for a second.
The phone faded.
No, I thought you were talking to somebody in the background, like at a drive-through window.
No, you know what, man? My commentary on missing live sports is not worth it anyway.
Now, what about horse racing? Is that still active in Minnesota?
Yes, well, it will be. Week from Wednesday, yours truly enters doubleheader mode, 9 to noon, KFAN, and then 4:30 to like 8, calling races at Canterbury Park, which is our version of Philly Park. No fans, and, essential employees, masks all around the building. I'm wondering if I walk up to a horse without a mask, am I going to be reprimanded? Because that's legitimately something I'm thinking of. But, I'll call races to no fans. Canterbury Park, beginning June 10th. If any of your listeners happen to be watching it online at like TVG, find my email. And if you're watching and you're going to bet, then I'll tout the bleep out of you.
Now, can we bet online and listen to your live calls on TVG when Canterbury Park springs back into action? Just don't go Mongo. Just don't go on Mongo on any of the horses you may have had some money on who lost and cost you a nice trifecta.
No, there have been multiple $200 win wagers where I've lost by a head and wanted to drop an F-bomb at the end of the race, but I didn't. From a horse name standpoint, I've called 30,000 races, Tony. I've done it for a quarter century. So, there was a horse called Hoof Hearted that a lot of people know about. Hoof Hearted, I get it. Actually, one of the most difficult names I've ever had in all the race calls I've had is like Benny Mardones and Into the Night. That song would be on a music station that plays soft hits. The soft hits, the soft hits station, if you know what I mean. So, and they're racing, and soft hits comes bouncing out of the gate.
Yep.
And soft hits has undressed them.
And down the stretch they come.
Oh, you know what my first announcement's going to be if I know you're watching at whatever.com and betting on us? Ladies and gentlemen, in the 5th race, number 2, Tony Bruno should be listed as a gelding.
Well, that happened a long time ago, pal. And thank God for that.
That happened with one of your 19,000 house projects I saw over 4 years when some hack accidentally got into your testicles.
Exactly right. So you're not getting this anywhere else.
No.
You're not getting Minnesota Viking, Minnesota Twin, Minnesota Wild, and horse racing combo mambo action in the same segment.
Well, the other thing, there's a PGA Tour event that's supposed to be in Minneapolis area.
Oh, giddy.
Late July. Are they going to cancel that, do you think? Because they canceled the one in Silvis, Illinois already.
What, here in Minnesota?
Yeah, Twin Cities.
Man, I don't know. And by the way, Tony, why you got to leave the Wolves out?
I forgot about. Don't forget about the Wolves.
For a decade and a half, but my God, they're still a team.
Are they going to make the play in the expanded playoffs when the NBA goes down to Disney World?
Hey, wait a second. First, Harry Mays, I got all your albums. I was there at the Iowa State Fair when you opened for Bobby Womack. When it comes to the golf tournament, I got no idea about the golf tournament. Haven't followed it. Harry Mays, I got to say, when you cover Bobby Womack's Harry Hippie, It's one of the highlights of my life, man.
Love Bobby Womack, big #1 hit, "Fly Me to the Moon." Remember that one? The version that was a top 40 classic.
No, I never knew
it was a
his
crossover,
version.
R&B.
I don't know what I like more: Bobby Womack's "Fly Me to the Moon" or Frank Sinatra's "Across 110th Street."
No, Bobby Womack. I'm not making. Look it up.
Yeah, I trust you.
Bobby Womack had a monster. Not just it was a crossover, R&B
Really?
and top 40 hit with the song "Fly Me to the Moon."
And the Timberwolves
Wow.
aren't going to
See,
Orlando.
when you say crossover, I expect you to follow it up because you're so clever by calling me RuPaul Allen.
Now this is Bobby Womack, big hit song, the Frank Sinatra classic, but he brought it back and made it a hit again. Fly me to the
Damn
moon.
you. Oh,
Fly me to the moon.
Oh, I like this.
I never heard this
I've
version.
never heard this version.
Nobody's got better hip hop, R&B, old school, new school, rock and roll.
Is it
smooth
sacrilege
jazz.
if I say that I like this version better?
Yes, it is sacrilege.
Bobby
Yeah, it
Womack,
is.
come on.
right. Hey, Tony, I think the most low-key, underrated facet of that bit you just pulled up on the fly,
What?
you hit the freaking post.
I know
Are
I
you kidding
did.
me?
He always does.
It could be a song
Yeah,
I haven't
funny.
heard in 20 years, and you play it, boom.
Yeah,
and if I
funny,
step on it,
funny.
I am pissed off.
Yeah, Miss Robbins a fraud, with all due respect. Funny, she finds the Bobby Womack on the fly, but can't give me Benny Mardones, which I asked for 2.5 hours ago.
No, but I did. I had it already. But
Fly
Ian
me
came
to the
on, and it was just. You're right. You're right. Just give me one of those,
Give her
Tony.
one of
Just-
those, Tom.
Just give me
Gotta
one of
give her
those.
Yep.
Hey, but seriously, though, if you guys aren't super familiar with Bobby Womack, Across 110th Street for your next bumper song, I think you'll like it.
Beautiful. Hey, Paul, it's always great to talk to you, man. We span the gamut, span the globe, and spanakopita because I'm hungry right now for some good Greek food. Isn't that a Greek dessert? Yes.
Yes, it is.
All right. Yeah, man, that'd be good to have a nice fat gyro right now. Hey, bless all you guys,
Yes.
man. It's an honor every time I get an opportunity to join your radio show. Harry Mays, I got all your albums. Ms. Robin, love you. Tony, 2 words to describe you, and it involves a comma in between. Beautiful, man.